And then what we want to do is talk about telling the story. Okay, if we can train somebody to be able to tell the story and become an amazing storytelling, this will separate them out from most people. And there's 3 different stories you want to become an expert in. First of all, your story. Second of all, the company story. And third, the business story. Everybody's individual story is going to be a little bit different. And how you can work through them with their story is on the right-hand side there, and talking about their background. What do you currently do? And what don't you like about what you currently do? What's the pain behind it? And then what have you found? What's the solution? How do you feel about the future and where it's headed? So for me, for example, I have there on that example 1 is I used to work corporate treasury for Citigroup. And you guys, I hated the fact that the higher I climbed the corporate ladder, the more time that I was expected to be at work. And what I found was that this business model offers me freedom. It's freedom to be with my family more. And I was able to walk away from the corporate world. I want to help as many people get time freedom back. And where this is headed in the next 3 to 5 years is absolutely crazy. Okay. The second portion is more like where Michelle was coming from. Okay. She used to be in the mortgage industry and she loved the fact that she was 100% commission. But what she didn't like, that every single month it started back at 0. You had to rebuild it every single month. There was no security in what you had your hands on. And what she found in this business model was it does offer true residual income, and you get paid over and over and over again for work that you did in the past. And nobody knows about this technology yet, and we're excited to help as many people get financial freedom too, or get home with their family, get their husband back from their corporate job they don't like, or to be around their kids more and really watch them grow up instead of letting somebody else raise their kids. So those are the ways that you can walk somebody through what their story is, and this evolves. It doesn't stay the same. Our story now is very different than what it was 6 years ago. You know, 6 years ago, we had the same background, we had the same pain, but we didn't necessarily have the necessary solution, right? We didn't have the same experience that we could tell people, well, I walked away from the corporate world in 9 months. Okay, we weren't at that point, or that we grew 2 Pro 8 business centers by the time we were 24 months in. That hadn't happened yet. So our story was a little bit different back then, but find out what your story is and really be good at telling it. And I tell people over and over again at like LifeVantage Academy, if you have children, you'll really relate to this. Or remember back to when you were a child, there's probably 1 or 2 stories that stick out in your mind that child or that you wanted to be read over and over and over again. And the first time you read that book to your child, you probably weren't that great at telling the story. But after you had told it a dozen times and then 20 times and then 50 times, you didn't even need to look at the pages anymore. The story just rolled off your lips, and you probably had different voices for every character, and the kid was just glued onto every word, and they wanted you to tell that story, and they begged you to tell the story because you were so good at it. For Michelle and I, it was a story called Mortimer. And it was about Mortimer going up into his room at night, and he was supposed to be laying in his bed, and all of a sudden his parents downstairs would hear all this noise, and clang, clang, rattle, bing, bang. The dad heard all this noise, and he came stomping up the stairs, and he yelled, "Mortimer, be quiet." And our kids, they wanted us to tell that story over and over and over again because we became great at telling the story, okay? And that's what we're doing here. Get great at telling your story, the company story. Has the company story evolved? Yes. Okay. It's a way different company than it was 6.5 years ago. Okay. We're a $200 million company. Back then it was a $10 million company going to 40 million. We weren't on the NASDAQ yet, but the beginning story is the story. The ABC primetime story is the same story then as it is now. It aired in 2005. Did it change in 2017? No. Okay, and Carrie Dickey, we called her up all the time, and we'd be like, okay, what video are we sharing now, or what story? People want to know what we're doing now. And she would always pull us back and say, you guys, the story hasn't changed. Think about your kids. When your kids, you first started the business, I think they were 5 and 7, okay? Did their birth story change now that they're 10 and 13? No. Okay, their original story is their story, so stick to the story. And that's the ABC Primetime video. That's why we still do it today, because it sets the foundation of where this company was, where it started, why people were so excited about what had been discovered. Okay, and then we can fill them up to date and where it's gone and where it's transformed from there and why it went off the retail shelves into network marketing. You know, why the struggle that they had with telling the story and nobody knew or understood this technology. And we have that ABC Primetime report that they can see and they can send people to at biohackingyourbody.com. It's right up here on the top left-hand side of the story. When we tell the company story, at first, let the ABC video story tell it, and then get third-party validation on the phone afterwards to fill in the blanks. What happened next? And you'll hear it. It's the same story over and over again. You know, we're now building the story about an Omega Plus product, and that's in addition to what we previously told. And so there's parts that we have to condense to be concise about the message and get it across, but it's the same story that we tell over and over and over again. And I promise you this, at this point, I could blindly tell somebody what's going on as I'm doing 3 other things about where this company was. Right? And that's where you need to become a professional story teller, and it'll change your life. And then the last part that a lot of people in our organization don't get great at is telling the business story, how to earn money, how to make money, how to get residual income in your life. And so if you aren't at that point, I would challenge you over the next 6 months to become a professional storyteller like you are with your story and the company story with the business story. How do people get paid? Why is residual income important? Why is the elite bonus pool so awesome? Okay. And there's videos and stuff out there that until you become a professional on it, you don't have to know the first thing, but you do need to know where those tools are. I have a YouTube channel with Michelle, Shauna Michelle Poe, that you can subscribe to. We've got over 100 different videos that you can look at. One of them's a compensation story that you can send people. We now have the corporate version of the compensation plan up there too. Send people to that, and you'll hear the information enough that eventually piece by piece by piece it fits in, and you'll be able to tell it without thinking about it as well. So become a professional storyteller. It'll change your life.